There's a new study that was just released, and they're writing about it in the Wall Street Journal. They're writing about it in in a number of publications, and it's a new study that the Federal Reserve did. And I don't know why the Federal Reserve is bothering to do these studies anyway. But the Federal Reserve did a study on the return of a college degree, whether it's worth spending money to acquire a college degree. And so they looked at the cost of a degree, and they also looked at the cost of a 4-year degree versus a 2-year degree. But they looked at how much money you'd have to pay to buy the degree. And they also factored in the money you don't earn during those 4 years or 2 years when you're, pursuing your degree. And then they calculated what the return is, how much more money you can expect to earn because you have a degree than if you didn't have a degree. And according to the Federal Reserve, college is worth the money. Even though tuitions have skyrocketed, even though you have to borrow all this money and take yourself out of the workforce for 4 years, it's still worth it. According to the Federal Reserve, the return amounts to about a 15% return on your investment, which means a college degree is better than the stock market, it's better than the real estate market. According to the Federal Reserve, it's the best thing you can do with your money is go to college. Well, I think that study is completely erroneous, and I'll tell you why after the break. Stick around. We're coming right back.
The Peter Schiff Show.
We're talking about this bogus study just put out by the Federal Reserve purporting to show or prove that a college degree, despite the fact that prices have skyrocketed and that students are drowning in debt in order to get one of these fancy pieces of paper, that it's still worth the time and money it takes to get one. So even if you're unemployed and living in your parents' basement and maybe all you can get is a part-time job, at 7-Eleven, it was still worth it. Because according to the Federal Reserve, that degree, no matter what you major in, you can major in, underwater basket weaving, it's still worth whatever the price was, whatever the cost. But before I get to that, I want to quickly talk to Adam calling in from Portland, Maine. Had a point about the cheerleaders for the U.S. economy, the talking heads that seem to be ignoring all of the bad economic data. Adam, you're up.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for taking my call. So I think you just sort of answered my question in a way. My question was sort of how is mainstream economics in academic institutions, how it has affected the current situation, the current market, and then the current future of all of the students who are going through the process to become the economists of tomorrow.
Well, the student, like anybody that learns economics at a U.S. university, by and large learns nothing. They learn, it's like, going to medical school and you're being taught by a witch doctor, and he's teaching you about, potions and various, concoctions, remedy, you got voodoo dolls and juju beads or whatever, and you think you know medicine, and you don't know medicine. You know quackery. And so the people that are being educated at our universities aren't being educated at all. They're learning the equivalent of nonsense. But also I think a lot of these talking heads, a lot of these economists that are ignoring this bad data, look, they have a narrative that they believe in. For whatever reason they believe it. They have to believe it. They're bullish. Their livelihood depends on this narrative being true. And, they're going to build a wall around any information that challenges that narrative. It's, cognitive dissonance. I mean, this is something that we see time and time again. People are oblivious to the news that contradicts what they want to believe. And so all these guys want to believe the U.S. economy is great, and so they want to dismiss all of this bad data. And, of course, there's lots of reasons to dismiss it. They have a built-in excuse of the weather, it's backward-looking, whatever it is going to be, because they don't want to interfere with their view. And I think the same thing maybe is true on a college degree. We've invested so much money in education. We've spent so much money in a nation, on secondary education, on colleges, and we've been beating this into the heads of our kids that they need to go to college. And so do we want to admit that it's all a waste of money? No. So we come up with these BS studies like the one that the Federal Reserve just wasted the money they print to finance. Normally these studies that show how a college degree is worth the money are funded by the universities and the colleges. And of course, they're all bogus because they want to put out, marketing pieces that convince people to pay these prices. So they need some bogus study that's going to show that college grads earn more than non-college grads. But of course they do. I'm not saying that people that go to college as a group don't earn more than people who don't. My point is that going to college has absolutely nothing to do with it. That's the fact. It's a coincidental number. It's not logic. I mean, think about it. Think about the kids in America who go to college versus the kids who don't. The kids who go to college come from much more affluent families than the kids who don't. Therefore, they're going to have better connections. They're likely to have been raised in a certain way that is probably more conducive. Maybe they want to continue to live in a lifestyle that they've grown up with. They've grown up in an environment where you can see the rewards of hard work. Their parents are probably, in general, more dedicated, more career-oriented. So they have a certain type of environment in which they're raised in. Also, the kids that go to college tend to be smarter than the kids that don't go. I mean, just raw intelligence. They're going to have a higher IQ than the kids that don't go to college. They're harder working. They're more ambitious. There are a lot of characteristics that people that go to college have. They would have those characteristics whether or not they went to college. And there are other characteristics that people who don't go to college have that they would have whether or not they went to college. So the study is flawed. What they need to do is they need to factor all that out. They need to look at kids who have similar backgrounds, so children of affluent parents who have similar grades in high school, who have similar IQs, right? Similar drive and ambition and all that, and then measure the ones that go to college versus the ones that don't. Also, look at kids that, got lousy grades in high school and, don't study very hard, aren't very ambitious, don't have a high IQ, right? But go to college anyway and major in, sociology of sports and barely graduate from a third-rate college. Compare that guy to the guy that didn't go to college. These are not apples to apples comparison. Take the example of Hillary Clinton. Not Hillary Clinton, I mean Chelsea Clinton. Chelsea Clinton had this job at NBC where she was paid $600,000 a year to basically do nothing. I mean, she worked part-time, and she was paid $600,000 a year. Now, Chelsea Clinton also went to college. So are we supposed to believe that the reason that she landed a $600,000 a year job at NBC was because she went to college? Of course not. NBC didn't care if she went to college. They didn't even care if she went to high school. They were paying her $600,000 a year because she was the daughter of a former president and of the Secretary of State. That's why they paid her $600,000 a year. I mean, are we supposed to believe that if Chelsea Clinton didn't go to college, that she would be working for minimum wage as a waitress at Denny's? Is that what we're supposed to think? That the only difference between her earning $600,000 at NBC and waiting tables at Denny's is that college degree? The college degree didn't have anything to do with it. Yet, her $600,000 salary is going to average in there with all the other salaries to show you how valuable a college degree is. It was one of the more interesting aspects of this study, because when they try to factor in the cost of getting a college degree, a 4-year college degree, they have to factor in 4 years where you don't work. Now, first of all, most people can't even get a college degree in 4 years, a 4-year degree. It takes 5 or 6 years. So right off the bat, if they're only assuming that you're out of the workforce for 4 years, they're wrong. A lot of people are out of the workforce for a lot longer than 4 years to get a 4-year degree. But one of the reasons that the cost-benefit equation is working out is because the amount of money that they assume that you earn because you don't have a college degree is very, very low. In fact, the reason that there's a big difference between what a college graduate earns and what someone who doesn't go to college earns, it's not because there's a big increase in pay or that college graduates earn so much. It's because non-college graduates earn so little. That's the problem. The job market for people without college degrees, the unskilled jobs, have collapsed. And so you can't earn much. So basically, they used to say you have to go to college to get a really good job. If you don't go to college, you can still get a job, decent job. You can still, support yourself. You can support a family, but you're not going to be able to do it with a lot of style. You're just going to be kind of middle class. If you get a college degree, you could be upper middle class. See, now, in order to just barely make it into the middle class, you need a college degree. If you don't get a college degree, you're going to be flat broke. You're going to be on welfare or working a minimum wage job. That is the reality. So it's not that a college degree is so valuable. It's not having it is so horrible. Those are the statistics. But again, it's not because of the college degree. That is not the difference between earning a lot of money and earning a little bit of money. It's the people. It's the individuals. The individuals that choose to go to college because they're told you have to go to college, right, by their parents and by society. Those individuals would earn more money anyway. It didn't matter whether or not they go to college. And the proof is, if you look at the jobs that most college graduates have, they have nothing to do with what they studied. And whatever they learned in college is of no value to them on the job. They're not being paid because they were in college. They're being paid because they're brighter, because they're harder working, because they're more ambitious, because they have, they're more disciplined. Right? But those are the qualities that they had that allowed them to go to college. It's not the college degree that allowed them to earn that money. It's the qualities that enabled them to get into college. Those are the same qualities that are allowing them to earn more money. The people who didn't have the qualities to get into college, well, they would earn more money less because they're less capable. Look, if you took a group of people that had an average IQ of 90 versus a group of people that had an average IQ of 120, wouldn't you expect the people that have an average IQ of 120 to earn more than people that have an IQ of 90? So what difference does a college degree have? If you give all those people with 120 IQs college degrees, it doesn't change anything. It's not the degree that is the standout factor. But, of course, if you're just going to study that in a biased study to try to back yourself into some justification for the college degree, and I can understand why some, BS organization that was hired by a college to put out a fake study would do something like that. But you think, why is the Federal Reserve? Why is the Federal Reserve spending our money, right, to come up with a BS study to justify inflated tuitions? I mean, they're not running a college. They're theoretically they should be unbiased. But again, they're just trying to put out information to justify our current policy, because our policy is to subsidize education, to give out enormous amounts of money to students so that they can go to college. The Federal Reserve doesn't want to point out that this is bad, that this is a waste of money. So it's propaganda being spit out by the Federal Reserve in order to justify policies of the federal government. Well, if the Federal Reserve is going to put out propaganda about the value of a college degree, which clearly this is, because any objective study would show that it's a waste of time and a waste of money for the vast majority of Americans. If they're going to put out false information to justify bad education policy, why wouldn't they put out false information to justify other economic policies? The one interesting aspect of this whole study was that it did show that in many cases, people that get a 2-year technical degree out-earn people that get a 4-year degree, which, of course, is one of the things that colleges don't want you to know. If you just go to nursing school for 2 years or some kind of a trade school for 2 years and get a technical degree, that you'll spend less and earn more than the people who go to a 4-year university and major in sociology. So that was one interesting aspect. But the rest of it is all a bunch of PR for the government and for the universities and colleges put out by the Federal Reserve, which when it comes to economic analysis is really nothing more than a PR agent. It's not an independent source of economic thought. And whatever they say, you should take with a grain of salt.